red light's on, the microphone is on.
Thank you. I'm Joel Zellers, and I am running for Hailey City Council with the thought that we can preserve mountain culture. Over the last maybe 10 or 15 years, what I've noticed in our town is a little decline in helping my neighbor. Where I've seen a decline in waving at people, whether they're just walking around the streets. I've also seen some small events turning into kind of bigger events. And what I've noticed over the years is the city of Hailey has looked at things like parking, speeding through town, how we interact with each, or not interact with each other, but how we ride our e-bikes throughout town, how we use water as something that's very important, but at the same time, we are looking at these in the context of they're not the most major issues. And I look at it as the broken window theory, which started, it was a sociological studies in New York City, where they said, hey, take care of the little things first, and everything else will fall in place. And what I'm seeing right now is the city of Hailey is doing great work in a lot of areas, but we're letting a lot of little things kind of falter. And if we start connecting with each other, if we start working on the little things, then I think we'll be able to bring our city to the greatness it has been for a long time. That would include parking issues that we are seeing up and down all of our streets. That would also include taking a look at what's going on at our Senior Connection Center. We have a large group of people there that I think the city of Hailey does a really good job supporting, but I think we need to start looking at that in the context of they're a really important part of our culture here, and we need to continue to allow them to grow, to give them the activities that they need. In order to do that, we're going to need more housing for people as well. So with these issues, I would like to participate on the city council to try to assist in making our climate more of a mountain town like it was years past.
Steve?
Okay, just before I begin, just thank Express for hosting this and everybody for coming, because two of the most pivotal parts of a well-functioning society are a free and independent press and a public that cares, and engaged public, so thank you. Hey, I'm Sage Sauerbrey, and I'm running for city council because I really love this town. I grew up here, I was born and raised here, I plan to start a family here, and I want to protect the incredible quality of life that we have here for many future generations from many different backgrounds. One of the things that I hear almost every day is that this town is changing, and it's true. It's changed a lot, especially post-COVID. But to a certain degree, change is inevitable. It's one of the only things in this life that we can count on happening. So to that end, about 3 years ago, I was appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission here at the city of Hailey, because I realized I could either sit back and complain about the change, or I could take an active role in ensuring that Hailey changes for the better. So for the last 3 years, I've been advocating strongly for more sustainable growth, community housing, the protection of our open spaces, and safer pathways. Because I believe that I think there is a world where Hailey can grow without compromising this type community character that Joel was talking about. And I've spent most of my adult life trying to figure out what that looks like. Started just after college. I got a job as a reporter and an editor in Truckee, California, at a small independent paper, and I was mainly covering the city government there and their responses to the housing crisis. And I saw firsthand what happens when a town does not prioritize its local workers. I watched the community disintegrate. But while I was there, I also learned a lot of tools and policies that we can use to try and keep that from happening here. We have a shot. So I would say, to finalize, I have a vision of a community where the kids going to school here can feel safe and secure, that they can create a future here in a town that still feels like a small town, but is full of thriving businesses, safe, walkable, bikeable pathways, expansive open spaces, and
Sorry, gotta
a
cut you off.
diverse and vibrant community. Thanks.
And real quick, Jeff, before you start, there's 3 open seats up here at the front, for those of you standing in the back. I promise I'm not scary. I'm more scared of you than I think you are of me. So please feel free to come sit down here in the front, and there's pizza and refreshments in the back.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out here tonight. I just want to start off and just say how cool it is that we have 3 locals all invited to one spot. As a community right now, we have the opportunity to add to a city council that already works very well together and works well with the community. With Heidi Husband stepping down, we don't have to take away from the council, we get to add. So I thought I want to challenge you with you guys tonight because we're all great. These 2 gentlemen that I got the opportunity to really meet tonight, we all have a vision for this valley, a vision for this town in Hailey. And it's up to you to decide which one, speaks mostly to you. And I could sit here and talk about my platform and all that, but I think I should take this time to introduce myself. And some of you know me, a lot of you don't. Born and raised here in Wayne County, born in Sun Valley, lived in Ketchum, Hailey my whole life, grew up around the local government politics. And a life mantra of mine, I want to say, is actions speak louder than words. So one struggle I've had with this whole campaign is, what's your slogan? What are you all about? And if you guys, I can sit up here and say anything. I can say this, that, but I want you to judge my actions. I support mental health daily. I have been sober now for almost 10 years, and I am not going to shy from that whatsoever. And I know a lot of you guys have questions for me, and I'm prepared to answer any and all of them. I have years of experience working for the Wayne County Elections Office, also working in elections in Twin Falls County. I am a political science and history major at the College of Southern Idaho, having recently completed an internship up at the state capitol with the state legislature. I will be graduating May 26th. Wish I could have done that sooner, but the big reason why I am sitting up here before you today is because I have made a career change 5 years ago. I used to be a firefighter for a few years, done a lot of different work, Sun Valley Company. I managed with my mom, I managed Sun Valley Executive Services, which managed a lot of affordable housing in Ketchum. I have a lot of lived experiences. And it's just my goal needs to be tonight to show you guys who I am and what I'm all about. And if I haven't done that by the end of the night, I will be around afterwards. I'd love to talk to any and all of you. And thank you.
All right, thank you all. We'll go ahead and move into our reporter questions. So I'm going to pass the microphone off to Tony.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yeah.
All right. So, question number 1, I'm going to go in the same order, starting with you, Mr. Zellers. What is your vision for the Peregrine Ranch and Flying Head Ranch growth reserves in Hailey's comprehensive plan?
So both of these areas, we all know that are large acres of land. I think our first look at both of these should be water. If we have enough water, if we have the water that will not deter from our current residents, that's one thing we really do need to look at. The other aspect of that is if we are going to be allowing the building on both the Flying Heart Ranch over there and the Peregrine up north, is that how are we going to support our builders in the process of workforce housing, and how are we going to incentivize them?
Thank you.
All right, so is
Yeah.
that the same question?
Yes. And then I can repeat it for you. What's your vision for the Peregrine Ranch and Flying Head Ranch growth reserves in Hailey's comprehensive plan?
So this is coming up soon, and I think we are gonna see the flying hat development proposal within the next 3 months. I hope it's a long process, because to a certain degree, I would like to not extend sprawl beyond our town borders right now, but there's maybe a limited legal ability we might have to stop it. Water may be one potential, so if it is built, I think community housing is first and foremost. I think the way that we provide connectivity from that neighborhood to the existing businesses in Hailey is huge. We can't place that area on an island, and I think the park space that's going to be potentially provided in flying hat development needs to be heavily supported as well. But connectivity is first and foremost, along with water in my mind.
Thank you. Mr. Everett, do you need me to repeat the question?
Please.
So what is your vision for the Peregrine Ranch?
Tony, if you could look up and speak out.
Look
Thanks.
further up.
Yeah.
The question is,
Okay, thank you.
what is your vision for Peregrine Ranch and Flying Cat Ranch growth reserves in the Hailey Comprehensive Plan?
So I agree with both of you, and I think the big thing we need to focus on is water rights, housing and everything. Big thing I think the city of Hailey gets back to is focusing on the basics. You know, doing what's right by everybody involved, get input from the community. And, yeah, when it comes to stuff, I'll admit, there's certain things I'm still learning, you know, and in this situation, I would reach out to people with planning and zoning and people, the experts that know better than I. And by doing so, I will take that input and I'm done.
Thank you. Question number 2, Mr. Zeller. With Hailey's population projected to grow by 2,000 in the next decade, adding 4 million in police and fire costs, should the city consolidate its fire services? And why or why not consolidate?
Is your question, should they consolidate the fire services with the other up north and down south, or?
I believe so.
That is your question?
Consolidate, yes.
Yes, so consolidation of our current fire services is on the docket as we speak. And having all of those fire services under one auspice is an excellent idea. It allows us to have a larger amount of resources under a single command. So I would agree that it would be beneficial for the city of Hailey to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Sauerberry?
I think we need to consider the nuanced approach this is going to take. But in the end, I think it is absolutely the natural evolution of these districts to consolidate. It's going to increase efficiency. It's going to allow for the expansion of resources north to south, where they're pretty heavily consolidated to the north at the moment. And in the end, it will allow our consolidated fire responders to respond to house fires and other calls more quickly and efficiently.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I've had multiple conversations with the Hailey Fire Department, specifically Assistant Chief Jamie Hoover, and have experience working as a firefighter for over 2 years of my life. I believe first and foremost, we need to focus on making Hailey Fire Department the strongest department it can be. And after conversations, it sounds like they're leaning towards consolidation. And if that's what they believe will make them the strongest department, I fully support that. We need to also look, if by doing consolidation, that makes it easier, or I'll say an easier path to get a new fire station and a new ladder truck, which is stuff they desperately need.
Thanks. Question 3, Tony, and we'll start with you on the answers this time, Jeff.
Yes. What is one thing the city has gotten wrong in recent years, and what would you do to correct it, Mr. Emmerich?
Thank you for the question. I believe the e-bike problem, and it's something that needs to be addressed right now. It's not just a matter of safety, it affects all areas of our life here in town. We need to types class 2 and 3 need to be required with a driver's license. And also, I believe that we got ahead of ourselves trying to building all those new bike paths and those new bike lanes all over town before we passed legislation or rules regarding that. And because of doing so, it's affected the crime rate.
Thank you. Mr. Sarver.
I would say something I've noticed on the planning and zoning department, I think to a large degree, Hailey is doing a lot of things right. I think they can clean up some things and find some more effective ways of getting around some things. But one thing I noticed is we increased the density in the business district area about like in the last 10 years, which I think was well intentioned and is something that I'd like to see is more density close to town. But allowing that outright by code allowed developers to get around some of the processes that we used to use to leverage for community housing. So I'd like to bring back essentially a form where we can achieve that leveraging process for community housing and also achieve our density and smart growth goals.
Thank you. Mr. Zellers. What is the one thing the city has gotten wrong in recent years, and what does it do to correct?
So I think first and foremost, the city's doing an excellent job. Like I said earlier, we have many little areas that we should be taking a look at. If we take a look at how we're treating our senior citizens, I think we can invest more in them. The city's doing a good job, but I think obviously we can be investing much more in them. When we take a look at the floods that we've had over the years past, in 2006, those floods were, the city worked together with the residents to mitigate the floods. And in the last two floods that we've had, the city has just kind of given a hands-off approach to that. So I would like to see the city take a stronger stance on assisting the residents of Hailey during the floods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, move on to audience questions. All right, who wants to ask the first audience question?
Thank you for coming tonight. I've been wondering when this is going to happen. My name is Dawn Steeslick. I do work for Blaine County Land Use, by the way. With regards to one of Tony's questions on Peregrine Ranch, growth reserves, so on and so forth, how are you going to be able to, I've just lost the word, bring them into the city? Because Peregrine is separated by various Coyote Bluff and everything, and if they don't want to be annexed in, how does the city even address Peregrine Ranch in their plan?
What's the appropriate way to handle the complexities of an annexation like the one in Peregrine Ranch? And Sage, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah. Wow, 30 seconds.
Oops.
That's a can of worms. I mean, to a certain degree, I agree. Like, in general, I would prefer that we grow up and not out. To a certain degree, Hailey has planned that area for annexation, but it's not going to be as easy as folks think it is. And the connectivity is, again, a huge issue. We can't continue to sprawl without leaving really effective transportation networks and public transit networks to connect these places to our downtown. So that's going to be months of conversation coming up. But that's a good point. That's a great question.
Jeff, you're next.
Thank you for the question. Again, this is something I'm going to rely on experts' opinions. We have a great staff here in Hailey, Blaine County, people that devote their lives to stuff like this. And I have a good background in real estate, property management, and all that. So the big thing I would focus on water, sewage, those type of things, make sure they're done right and properly the first time before we can do anything else, and getting input from all of you. Thank you.
Oh, you turned it off on accident.
Don, that is a really difficult question, but I think we would start with community involvement. We would start with how do we incentivize our developers and our small businesses in that area to assist them to want to provide more housing for everyone, not just for large swaths of land. I think we need to have open forums. I think we need to have the community highly involved in this to figure out the infrastructure before we move on, and then obviously sustainability studies as well.
Thank you. Next question. By the way, there's still one seat open right here, and there's an office chair right here that you can probably use if you want to sit down. Thanks. Please pose your question. If you like, you don't have to.
I am curious if you can kind of summarize in 30 seconds what your idea of smart growth is as far as community housing, because I really have a huge concern with the parking situation in my neighborhood. It's gotten really out of control. I'm in Woodside, and the Woodside is #1 growth area for density, River Street too, so if you can just kind of summarize your vision as far as smart growth, specifically with regarding parking.
All right, what's your vision for smart growth specific to parking? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Thanks again for that question. First and foremost, we need to stop building these HDUs with no parking. This parking situation in Woodside specifically has caused property values and neighbors and neighboring houses to go down. And change happens, but they can't even sell their homes to get out. We need to make sure the parking's for everybody. If you lose parking, if you lose housing to get more parking, so be it. Big thing I want to say is, it's time we make decisions and stop talking about it. We need to get it done now. Thank you.
Joel, second. Sorry.
And so we'll just address the parking issue. This issue that we currently have going on, not only in South Woodside, but also on River Street on the north end, it is an enormous issue. I think the incentives that we gave our developers early on for exchange for parks and open space was a smart choice at that time. Now we're seeing the results of it, and it's not working. Our current parking issues really have codes, but those codes aren't being enforced. So when we ask for those codes to be enforced, nothing's happening, and the residents are suffering. At the same time, we're paying more people in some of the units in the Woodside area than they are allocated. Therefore, we have less parking for everyone, and during snow, it's very difficult as well.
Sorry, I tried to cut you off. That's okay. Save your next.
So this is probably something we see in almost every meeting in planning and zoning, and it's one of the biggest issues I think that we confront is how do we balance the need for parking with the need for community housing and safe pathways, and that's something that I'm constantly trying to figure out. I think one thing is that we could look at the one-size-fits-all parking requirement that we currently have, because I think that parking should be more tailored to specific areas of town. There are certain areas that I think we should prioritize pathways, and certain areas that we could prioritize parking. We should also look at potentially revisiting parking for 3-bedroom units. But in the end, my goal is that I hope that parking be achieved on a cultural and social issue, and that we can really prioritize housing and safe pathways so that we can make it easier for people to bike and walk around.
Thank you. Okay, third question.
Hello, I'm Trish. I have a question about parking.
Speak a little more closely to the microphone.
Mick Jagger mic, right? Hello, I'm Trish. I have a question about parking. Has anyone ever considered creating a parking structure, like a 3-level one? I mean, a slight reasonable charges for that could help pay for itself, but it's desperately needed. And I've been so astonished there's so bad parking in this little town. Nobody has a subway or a bus really, they all have to have a car, so there's more of us than there are. Oh dear, I'm getting cut off, but there you go, you've got the idea.
Thanks. What are your thoughts on the multi-story parking structure?
And Joel, you're first this time. Thanks. We'll go Joel, Sage, Jeff.
This has been an issue that we talked about amongst my friends. A multi-level parking is something that we would benefit from. Going down, not so much up. If water tables do not prevent that. But to kind of address your issue a little bit more, you mentioned subways. I think if we were to make our pathways easier to get around, our riding, our bikes easier to get around, we wouldn't have to have so many cars in our town. But yes, a multi-level parking is something that we should be looking at for the developers.
Always have cars.
Sage, you're up.
Okay. Yeah, parking structures have been talked about. It's been determined that due to the need right now, it's economically unfeasible. The park and ride in Hailey is maybe never more than 50% occupied, so in downtown where we would put one, it wouldn't be heavily used. But in places where people live and need to park their cars, that's where we're seeing a big issue. What I really want to see is more ADA accessible spots, so that folks with mobility issues can park close to where they need to go, and then try and create safer pathways so that the people that can walk a block or two can safely do that. But more than anything, we need, like, folks that have issues with mobility should be able to park where they need to go.
Well, first off, I'll tell you, having a paid parking lot behind the old movie theater does not work, so I'll say that. I believe before we can really set the address or assess if we need a parking garage right now, we need to increase funding into our community service officers, and that department with the city of Hailey. I heard Freddie, who is the one-man show with that, he is working his butt off, and he needs help. And by doing so, that can help equal enforcement of parking not only in Woodside, but on River Street and around all of town, and also create another source of income that we desperately need as we grow.
Next question.
There's been a lot of emphasis, it seems, in Hailey for multiple unit housing, increased density with some.
A bunch of market rate development occurred without deed-restricted affordable housing on River Street, yet through other avenues we were and partnerships with Arch and elsewhere, we were able to create 92 units of community housing, either deed-restricted affordable or for locals only, just last year. So it's working, but we got more work to do.
I believe that having had the high-density units, maybe it was worth a shot when they did, but no, it's not working. Like I mentioned earlier, property values around those units are going down. People are unable to even sell their homes without losing money. We have the parking issues all over on the streets next to it. It's no longer just in Balmoral apartments. It's the Lido apartments, it's the Copper Ranch apartments, it's the places on River Street. And if we continue to allow those cars to park all over the streets, we will continue to have issues. With enforcement, equal enforcement, it will take time and it will be hard, but people will eventually stop doing
it. So our current community housing in Hailey is about 16%. To answer your question, if we don't continue allowing affordable housing, we're not going to have people to serve. We're not going to have people to make our coffee in the morning. We're not going to have mechanics, teachers, firemen. All these people will not be able to afford to live here. So I just retired as a teacher, and there's no way coming in as a 30-year teacher that I could afford to buy a house. On the other part of that, I believe the city should be incentivizing residents who rent property at lower rates with tax breaks. My wife and I have owned a condo in the Woodside area for over 12 years, and we were 30% below rate for those 12 years.
Thank you. Okay,
Next question.
Hello, my name is Owen, and in touching with the enforcement on parking, is the problem with e-bikes, the speeds they go and where they're allowed to go. If more enforcement is needed for that, is there talk about raising the policing budget, hiring more police, adding more law enforcement to the community? Is the cost of that also talking about managing these other problems?
So am I correct in summarizing that as, would you support increasing law enforcement budget as a solution to the e-bike?
Increasing law enforcement, the number of forces and the money for law enforcement budget on the table as well to take care of some of these other enforcement problems of parking and e-bikes.
Help out.
Okay. Would you support increasing law enforcement resources to tackle issues of e-bikes and parking enforcement? And Jeff, you're first.
Love to take this question first. Yes, we will have to increase that police budget and the community service officer budget, hire more officers. But what that would do, those CSOs can help the police officers not only with e-bike enforcement, but they can also help with school safety in the school zones after school. As we've all seen, the traffic's gotten a lot worse and the safety's gone down for those kids. Also, with that new budget, there are talks right now within the city about how do we enforce this, and I gotta end it. I'll try it.
I wanted to hear that. That's a big question. Sorry, Joel's up next. Sorry, I'm trying to keep reserve the 1, 2, 3 orders.
I'm getting used to the
Time to think.
Our current budget for our police force is 9% of the city budget. If you walk into Hailey Police Department, you'll see all the pictures of the police officers up on the wall. 4 of those, or 3 of those currently are no longer there. We are losing police officers due to the fact that our salaries are not commensurate with our current housing. So if we do not incentivize our police officers, and the city of Hailey currently is doing some great incentive programs, but I think we need to increase that in order to be able to monitor e-bike, traffic, everything that's going on before the little things become big things in our town.
So first of all, the e-bike thing is very logistically difficult to enforce from like a traditional police perspective. So I'd like to pursue that, but also direct a lot of attention into possibly some more signage and information campaigns that, at the educational school level to try and hit it from a cultural aspect, but also from the police standpoint, I fully agree that we could increase the budget for the police department, and there is a way to do that. We have a development impact fund category that's specifically allocated toward addressing the impacts of development and growth. And this, I believe, is one. And I think it would be worthwhile to put some of that towards salaries.
Thank you. I've got to give someone else a chance to ask a question first. Sorry.
I don't even like.
Okay.
What's the projected deficit in workforce housing, and what impact of short-term rentals has on that? And what would you propose to change that if there is a significant delta there?
We'll start with Joel.
Am I correct in summarizing your question as how do short-term rentals affect housing in the valley, and what if any changes would you propose to help with that?
Yeah, and I guess the other secondary thing in 30 seconds would be, what is the deficit in workforce housing projected in the future?
Are you okay if we just do that one question to give them, they've only got 30 seconds, sorry. We'll start with you, Joel.
That is a tough question, but in the next 10 years, we are looking at 101 units for low-income housing and 140 for middle-income housing. So we're already looking at over 200 units that we need for those two groups of people. So workforce housing would fall under the lower income, and we're looking at about 104 units that are needed to sustain what we currently have going in our job market.
Yeah, what Joel said is correct. It's roughly 100 units through those categories, all the way up to 150% varying minimum income. So we're the deficit in just about every income category, and that needs to be addressed. The short-term rental market accounts for about 4% of our overall housing stock in Hailey, so it's not nearly as detrimental as it is in Ketchum. But I'm increasingly worried that it will bleed its way into Hailey and have a greater effect as the years go by. This is one reason that I'm supporting the lot tax from 4% to 6%, because that tax would direct go towards short-term rentals as well.
I think in a more broader perspective, we need to really focus on what is the long-term plan to continue to build affordable housing now and in the future. You know, where are we going to build that housing? And I don't know statistics and all that. I'm sorry, that's not one I know, but that's all I got for that answer.
All right. Another question? Showing once, going twice.
It sounds like housing is the big issue. My perspective is that we need to increase the amount of all housing, all across the spectrum, the tax brackets. Wealthy people need housing. If they don't have it, they're going to come down here from Ketchum, build mansions. So how do we expand the supply of housing in total for the entire community?
How does Hailey expand the supply of housing for people of all income categories? And Sage, you're up first this time.
To be perfectly honest, we're not having an issue with higher-end housing development in Hailey. Most of the construction that's occurred in the last couple of years has been, above $750,000 per unit. So I'd love to target the income categories between 50% and below varying median income, all the way up to 150, because that's the entire tenet of sustainable growth in a healthy community. Is you need to find housing for people at every stage of life, from their starter homes to their forever homes.
Something that comes to mind for me is what does affordable housing look like for the average person? And for me, that is keeping you in your homes right now. Like I've mentioned before, property values and all that. Not one of these issues is standalone. Everything is very intertwined right now in town. So focusing on keeping taxes low, focus on property value, that could help you with those higher end homes. There is not one exact solution to housing. There's not one thing we do that will fix it all. I think the big thing is to focus on working with stakeholders and partners in the county to refine occupancy policies and cross-jurisdictional management. Thank you.
All right, we've got time for one more audience question. Oh. I apologize. I'm trying to keep the right order. I confused myself.
I think your question is very valid, because Hailey's own housing assessment talks about having 114 houses or developments or houses needed for high-income people. You're looking at 110 for the low income and 130 for the middle income. So we have to be looking at this globally. We can't just look at it in the context of we have to build affordable housing. We have to build housing for everyone, but we also have to take a close look at the water issue, and we also have to take a close look at the infrastructure. I think water is our biggest concern right now because of the Indian Creek Canyon well that's kind of diminishing, and we've got to be looking for other things to support those homes.
Thanks. We'll try that again. We've got one more question.
What are your views on Hailey's efforts towards sustainability and climate actions?
Right, what are your views on Hailey's sustainability efforts? And Jeff, we'll start with you first.
I believe Hailey's doing a great job, and that's been seems like it's been a big focus in them in recent years. I'm all for solar power, anything alternative, as long as it's sustainable and done right.
Joel, we'll go to you next.
Will you repeat your question about sustainability and?
Yeah. What are your views on Hailey's efforts towards sustainability and climate action?
Thank you. I think Hailey does have a sustainability report. The city of Hailey is really good at hiring people to come in and do assessments on our current climate, on housing, and many other issues that we currently have. Hailey has taken a very close look at our water issue, and that's part of that sustainability that we're looking at, and the climate action as well. They're also looking at migration of animals in conjunction with the building. When we take a look at, maybe Blind Hat Ranch and then out here at Quigley. So they've done a thorough job with that. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do to continue that.
Thank you so much for asking that question, because this is a big, pressing issue that sometimes gets overlooked when we're talking about current in-your-face issues like growth and parking and all of that. But I'd like to say it's fantastic that Hailey's finally got a full-time sustainability position. Hailey actually just won 2 weeks ago the award for the best community and sustainability at Mountain Towns 2030 conference. So huge kudos to a lot of folks like Emily Williams and Emily Rodriguez for the composting program we initiated, as well as going all solar on Hailey City Hall. But awards aren't going to solve the problem. We have tons more work to do, and it needs to be a bigger priority.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. So now we'll go ahead and go into the candidate question portion of the forum. So each candidate will get to ask the other candidates a question. And just a reminder that the questions have to be posed so that both of the other candidates can answer it, not just one candidate. And you'll have 30 seconds to answer. So we'll start with you, Joel.
So my question to the other candidates is, how are we going to enforce parking in our area, and how are we going to mitigate the current situation that we have going on?
We'll start with Sage.
All right, with the parking issue, enforcement, as Jeff mentioned, is tricky because we only have one person on hand to enforce it, so we definitely need to add another. Folks are catching on to some of the snow requirements, but having your car towed is not the proper way to learn about parking requirements. One thing that other neighborhoods have done that maybe is an enforcement issue, but a social issue, is they've enforced days where you park on opposite sides of the road so the other side of the road can be plowed. And we're having a big issue with right-of-way parking, especially in the wintertime. So I'd love for Hailey to explore something like that.
Well, this is the first time I think I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. No, I'm just saying. People know what the rules and laws are in town. And if they don't, they need to find out. If they get their car towed, it's going to hurt. They probably won't do it again. And they're going to know you're not supposed to. And that's why it's important to equally enforce parking around town. Thank you.
Sage, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Cheers. Yeah, after a large process the last 2 years, we finally approved our updated comprehensive plan for the city of Hailey. I'd like to ask the other candidates what your feedback is on that plan and what you might change or add on.
Yeah, so that plan was exceptionally well thought out in its initial phase. As for, if you just, in 30 seconds, if I take a look at just commuting on a bicycle with the current plan that we have, it's exceptionally dangerous to commute on bicycle on Hailey right now, even with the new bike paths that they're putting in. The bike paths are in placements where cars stop past the bike path on the stop sign, and it's going to cost someone to get in an accident. So the plan is great in many regards, but if we take a look at trying to commute in our town, it actually makes it more dangerous.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree that the comprehensive plan did a very good job being comprehensive. But back to what I was saying earlier, we need to focus on the basics. And again, I know we've all three of us have hammered away enforcement, but we really got to make sure we do that to address the issues like the e-bikes. And that's where I'm now going to go back to. City of Ketchum passed a law that is a misdemeanor now, but if you get reckless driving on an e-bike. And there are conversations here in Hailey right now happening around an incremental fine system, where possibly first time, second time fines then go up, then a misdemeanor the third time. We need to enforce this. The town needs to know what the laws are here. Many people don't. Thank you.
All right, and Jeff, your turn to ask the question.
What is one thing that you think you can add to the city council? And why is, that makes you why you're running first?
I'll start with you, Sage.
I think Hailey's ready for some, like, a new generation of leadership. I'm in this for multi-generational thinking. I'm in this for sustainability in the biggest sense of the word, so that my kids, their kids' kids, their kids' kids will have a chance to enjoy the same quality of life that I have had here. We live in this incredible town. Nobody knows where their house keys are, if they even have one. Like, you can reach these, you can get out in nature in 5 minutes if you need to in any direction. I'm going to devote all of my energy to maintaining that.
As a husband, a parent, a grandparent, and an educator of 32 years, I think I have a different perspective than many people and what's going on in the city. I can come from hanging out with teenage kids day in and day out for 32 years, which changes my mind, quite frankly. I'm not always hanging out with my peer group. I've been a volunteer for a mountain bike team here in town for 11 years of my life with my family. I have been extremely invested in our community, and I think I would bring a diplomacy to our council that would allow me to listen and be the conduit from our residents to the city council.
Thank you all. We'll go ahead and do closing statements now. Joel, would you like to start? You've got 1 minute. Well, here, you just answered your question. We'll go back to the other end of the line. Start with Jeff.
Thank you guys again for coming out, and I will recognize, there's a lot of stuff that I still have to learn, but one thing I promise you, if elected, I will put in the work. I'm known for it. I volunteered for over 10 years now in a nonprofit. I've worked in elections. I bring relationships with people on both sides of the aisle. I don't care how you feel, I will listen to you. We need to focus right now on fixing issues that Hailey needs fixed, not any specific person. And, that's done through relationships. That's done through having everybody at the table listen to opposing views. And the city right now, I feel, needs some cohesion in that sense. It is pretty divisive here in town. Whether you agree or not, just in general, it is around right now. And we live in a very unique, special town that is unlike anywhere else in the world. We can all agree on that probably. And we have issues that are unique to us. And we need to think outside the box to do right for everybody. Thank you.
Go down the line to you, Sage.
Yeah. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you all to join in a social contract with me, because as council, we are your representatives. We're We're here to listen to you all. And there's another side to it though. We're also all part of the same community. So a lot of the issues that we're talking about today can be approached from both sides. So if I'm elected, I promise to be a voice for you. I promise to listen. But on the other side, I hope that you come to the meetings. Our planning and zoning meetings are empty most of the time. And I would welcome your feedback. And I would welcome that collaboration, because even outside of the meetings, we all have this obligation to our community to do the right thing. I firmly believe that at the root cause of it, housing is a social issue. If we all show up for each other, we can do a lot more than a couple more units too. Parking's the same way. We can all get there. We can drive a little slower around town. We can bike a little slower around town. And if you all put that in the bargain, I promise to work tirelessly on the other side to make it easier for you. Thank you.
The city council requires someone that has diplomacy, that can listen, that can work with city members. I was fortunate enough back in maybe the late 80s to be a Peace Corps volunteer in Ghana, West Africa, where I had to learn diplomacy both in a different language, but also dealing with my own federal government. From that point, I went into education, and education taught me how to listen and how to listen to all different groups of people. Now that I'm retired and I'm running for a city council office, my agenda is to preserve our town, to preserve mountain culture, to take care of our elderly, to take care of small businesses, to allow for growth in our community, but also to be financially responsible in that process, to actually bring in the youth that Sage was talking about. We are an elderly community overall, and we need to bring in younger people to sustain what we currently have going on here. Housing obviously is an issue. I think we need to find a solution to this, but we also need to incentivize people for lowering their rates for people who are renting. So with diplomacy and with a ear to listening to you, I think we can continue the great work that Hailey is doing.
All right, thank you all very much for being here tonight. Thank you all for attending. Early voting is open, first floor of this building, so beneath our feet. For more information about voting, you can visit the Blaine County Elections website or voteidaho.gov, which is the Secretary of State's website. Thank you all again for being here.
Thank you.